Hey, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings lost last night, 126-112, but they're right back at it tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies at the Golden One Center. Our pregame coverage begins with game night at 5:30. Kings Live is at 6:30, and tip-off is set for 7 o'clock right here on Sports 1140. You good in there?
What are you laughing at?
Right, what a great shirt. The Red Sox took a 1-0 lead in the World Series with an 8-4 win over the Dodgers last night at Fenway Park. Eduardo Nunez hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the seventh to extend a 1-run Red Sox lead to blow that game open. Game 2 of that series is tonight. David Price heads to the mound for Boston against Hyun-Jin Ryu for the Dodgers. The Sharks came back from a 4-2 deficit to beat the Nashville Predators 5-4 last night in Nashville. And the NFL trade deadline is next Tuesday, but teams are already getting active. The Giants sent defensive lineman Snacks Harrison to Detroit for a 5th-round pick. That's honestly in there. I know zero people in this area care about Snacks Harrison
That's so
and his,
awesome.
but his name is Snacks Harrison.
I'm not late.
So I wanted to throw it in the
It's good.
update.
Move on to the open.
Those are your top stories, and now back to the drive. Sports 1140.
Super job.
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The drive starts now.
Hey, Kyle, real quick, trivia question. You ready?
Snacks Harrison.
Who is the number 1 graded rookie safety in the NFL?
Oh, does his name rhyme with Plurwin Plames? It's Derwin James. Derwin James is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Derwin James is grading out right now at an 82.8. He is in first place. Second place is Jesse Bates of the Bengals.
Oh, but out of Wake Forest. Love him, too.
72.1.
Yeah, it's not close.
He's almost 11 points behind Derwin James, and he's in second
And you don't
place.
even need to, don't if you're not a pro football focused person, then just go watch the Chargers. Like, watch any Chargers game, and Derwin does everything. He's everywhere, and he's really good at it.
Want to point out, we've got a guest coming on tomorrow. This is really cool. Sometimes we'll just do stuff just for funsies. A lot of you guys, like we just mentioned Pro Football Focus and the ratings they use. A lot of times, especially now in the NBA, you're seeing stuff like DVOA and TPA and a lot of these different terms being used to describe players. And I think most fans, like me, I just like if it's a stat that shows a King doing well, I'm a huge fan of that stat, and I tweet it out and talk about it. But I also think it's important to, as we're in this age of analytics and coming up with all these numbers and figures to figure stuff out, I do think a lot of people, myself included, don't have a complete grasp of all of them. So tomorrow we're going to have the Kings head analytics guy, Luke Bourne, totally cool dude. He's going to come on. We're not really going to talk Kings with him. We're just going to talk about a lot of these metrics. Luke's going to explain in layman's terms, in other words, dumb people terms like me, what they mean. And more importantly, I want to ask him the ones that he thinks are very useful. If there's ones out there that he just kind of, and where he thinks this is going. And then at some point, we'll probably ask him, how can a team like the Kings take advantage of something like that? And how do analytics make it better for the scouting department and the front office and all that? But I think it'll be a pretty fun, as fun as it can be talking analytics, but a pretty fun little deal there. Hearing from somebody who's literally published papers and taught classes on the subject to come on and break a lot of stuff that like this down. So if you're one of those people that either quotes those analytics or hears other people quote around the water cooler and you just kind of pretend, tomorrow's your day to come in. We're having a class, Analytics 101. I texted Kyle that last night. He was like, oh, imagine not knowing what that is.
I was like, that'll be really good for you.
I know what DVOA is.
Hey, Mike Kliss where's he from?
Mike Kliss.
Mike Kliss from 9 News in Denver is reporting that the Broncos have released quarterback Chad Kelly following his arrest.
Yeah,
Ian Rappaport is also reporting this.
Do you have the arrest and what the arrest was all about in front of you?
No.
Okay, so if you didn't see it, Von Miller had a Halloween party at his house the other night.
Which I believe he does every year,
Yes, he
from the
does.
sounds of it.
Kelly ends up somehow going into the house, allegedly, going into the house, just opening the door and walking into a house of some random people. He sits down on the couch next to the lady who was clutching their child. And according to the man and woman that lived in the house, is mumbling and talking incomprehensibly, has no idea what he's saying. The man screamed at him to get out and hit him in the back with a vacuum cleaner hose. Kelly then went,
I would like to address that part when you're done here.
Okay. Kelly then, and again, this is according to the story, Kelly then somehow got back to Von Miller's, was about to leave via Uber when the police showed up there, identified him, and arrested him. And John Elway, I'll screw the quote up, but basically said, we try to have something fun. We do something fun. It's a fun bonding party type of thing, and one guy screws it up. And let me put a cap on this. Why this is such an interesting story is Chad Kelly had a lot of issues in college, and he was taken with the last pick of the draft by the Broncos. The reason John Elway took him is because his good friend, Jim Kelly, who is Chad Kelly's uncle, called Elway and personally vouched for him. So not only does this kid make himself and make the entire organization look bad, but he just crapped all over his uncle, who by all accounts not only is a multi-time cancer survivor, but one of the best people, not just in sports, but in the world. So this is a story that's going to get talked about a little bit and pushed aside. I think this is a very layered story with a lot of interesting components. First and foremost, Kyle, being you have a young man who obviously has some issues that are most likely either substance related or mental health related, who needs to get some help before he does something. He already did something very stupid, before he does something stupid and irreparable. So it's a sad story.
I would like to get back to the man using a vacuum cleaner hose as a weapon.
Sure. And by hose, I think I might have said the metal bar, I think, is what it was that connects like the vacuum cleaner to the vacuum.
Okay. I was thinking the extendable hose bit.
No, it's the bar.
Just whacks him in the back with it.
Just whacked him with the bar in the back. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, dude, I talk about scary.
Yeah. Because Chad Kelly, that's a big dude just cruising into your house and sitting down.
Just sitting down, and your wife and holding the kid. I mean, that's, by the way, Chad Kelly's probably going to see the inside of a cell.
Yeah, first-degree criminal trespassing.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, not great.
As somebody who has been convicted of, I think it was 4th-degree criminal trespassing, I can tell you, true story. That is a completely... There are different lines. I was 21 years old. I was in Omaha, Nebraska. I was celebrating my 21st birthday. We climbed a bridge. Between that separated Nebraska and Iowa. That's why the Twin Cities, as Minneapolis, St. Paul. Mm-hmm. There's a second Twin Cities, Omaha and Council Bluffs, Iowa. The river connects them both. I was up there with two friends. We climbed up the I Street Bridge, and there's a catwalk underneath the bridge. And we're sitting there, and we're drinking and doing our thing. And our stupid-ass buddy decides to climb the ladder from the catwalk to the regular bridge and start waving at cars and acting like he was jumping off the bridge, right? Super smart, because it turns out people actually jumped off the bridge before a few times. A few minutes later, we notice a police boat underneath the bridge. Oh, that's interesting. A few minutes after that, we notice on both banks of the river, we counted 27 cop cars, fire engines, a couple of media vans, completely trolling the river and looking around with flashlights. We didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. Thought they were looking for something else, but we were scared, so we hid, right? We hid as best we could. Everybody left after about 2 hours. Everybody left. Except for one cop car. Driver gets in the driver's side of the cop car. Other cop gets in the passenger side. Still got the flashlight out. And just before she gets into the passenger side, her flashlight goes up, and she tags my buddy with the flashlight. We were all clinging on to the bridge trying to hide. Well, he didn't get around right. He didn't hide himself properly. So they bring us all down. They book us. We go in. Turns out her boyfriend was one of the guys on the boats trolling the river who has a little bit of an allergy to mosquitoes and got bit a few times. She wasn't happy. Ended up having to spend the whole weekend. That was a Friday. Spend the whole weekend in jail. Get released, OR'd on Monday because my two buddies had previous run-ins with the law. Yeah, I ran with a great crowd, and I had never had a run-in. I was put in a cell by myself, and my only visitor the entire weekend was early Saturday morning when about a 300-pound trucker dressed in leather came into the cell.
Okay.
Oh, no, this is true. Came into the cell. I was scared for obvious reasons. Huh?
Oh.
Well, it's funny you say that because here's what happened. The guy got pulled in for a DUI.
His name is Booger.
I don't know what his name was. He gets up. There were two cement slabs that had very thin mattresses, cots on top, disposable mattresses, you know, like you see in the doctor's office, but a little more padding. He's lying on his one. I'm lying on mine. The fluorescent lights are always on. He gets up at one point about a half hour after he gets booked in. This guy's a bad-looking dude, right? He gets up and he looks at me, and I'm on my cot trying to pretend to sleep, but my eyes are, one eye open. And he goes, hey boy, sorry about this. And at that point, I thought something really terrible was going to happen to me, and it did. He says, hey, boy, sorry about this. And he's looking me right in the eye, and he's still wasted. And I'm getting ready to scream bloody murder. And he walks over to the one toilet we have in the building and just proceeds to annihilate it. Just annihilate it. And it was bad. And I still remember this.
These diva drunk bikers go into the bathroom. When we got tossed in the drunk tank, we used to just sit there on our cot and do our business.
Yeah, thank you. Was in there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Got taken to the court building at 3:15. This is many years ago. I'll never forget it. On Monday. That's Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and most of Monday.
Just chilling.
And nobody in that cell other than me. My two buddies were like playing dice in the general population cell or whatever with 50 other people. I'm by myself, no reading material. I got my meals shoved to me through a slot, little TV dinners, which actually weren't that bad. Nothing to do. I did push-ups, sit-ups. Now I know why people in jail and prison get so muscular. There's nothing to do. I finally get let out, and I got convicted of two things. One I won't talk about on the air, but it's not a big deal. The other one, though, was...
Did you scratch how many days you were in the cell into the wall?
Yeah, right. Brooks was here at that. Well, you wouldn't get that reference. I got and the conviction was what was it, third degree, fourth? It was whatever the lowest degree of criminal trespass was.
Speaking of which, James Palmer of the NFL Network just tweeted that the Broncos released Chad Kelly following Tuesday's arrest for trespassing. Per sources, this is James Palmer, prior to the arrest, Kelly was involved in a physical altercation with a guest at Von Miller's party and with hired security while being escorted out of the party.
And does it say, and then he went to the house and got hit with the vacuum? Does it specify was that before or after he returned to Von Miller's party?
Prior to the arrest.
Okay, but he was, we'll need more detail because
prior to the arrest.
Right, not necessarily prior to the infraction because he went to the house, got whacked with the vacuum cleaner, and then went back to Von Miller's house.
Right.
Here's the moral of the story, kids, or the kids listening, is that there's nothing cool. Here's the moral of the story. There's nothing cool about doing bad things, and let me tell you, jail is not. I'm actually glad in retrospect it happened because A, it's a great story. B, that taught me one thing. I'm never going to commit a crime. Not that I think I was anyways, but I will never commit a crime because I couldn't do it, dude.
Yeah, going to jail sounds like the worst thing.
It's the worst thing. From the 916, all lies. There are no cots in the drunk take in Sacramento County. All floors slanted, cold, stinky room. Well, you might be right. Mine was in a county called Sarpy County as I began the story in Omaha, Nebraska. There's Douglas County and Sarpy County. I was in Sarpy County.
Boom, roasted.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All lies.
By the way, why did I tell that story? Because Scott Bair, I think this is our fault because I actually remember, and I told Kyle during the last break to text Scott, which he did, no response. I think I remember last week when we signed off with Scott saying, I'll talk to you in a couple weeks because he has the bye. And I think Scott was thinking this is a bye week. He didn't know. Well, it is a bye week. He didn't know about the Amari Cooper thing. That's not. Scott didn't flake on us. I think that's our fault for giving the impression that he had the week off.
Yeah.
That's our fault.
And given that he was supposed to have the week off and then everything hit the fan in Raiderland.
And he probably was like with his family in Yosemite or doing something fun.
Yurting.
All right, so since we have a couple of minutes.
Hey, what are the odds that Scott Bair's ever stayed in a yurt?
Low.
Very low, huh?
I don't think a lot of people have stayed in a yurt. I don't think a lot of people know what a yurt is. Y-U-R-T, look it up. But it's basically camping at the next level is what it is. It's not quite glamping, glamour camping. I'm looking at the grizzlybearblues.com website. This is the SB Nation Memphis Grizzlies version of the Sacktown Royalty website here. I'd like to read to you a couple of things from this. This is the Grizzlies SB Nation site talking about tonight's game, previewing tonight's Memphis versus Sacramento game. Do you think they're jealous yet? The Sacramento Kings, of course, get a good bit of bad press for being not so functional as a franchise. Yes, it's true, Memphis and their Grizzlies aren't a shining example of organizational efficiency themselves, yet Memphis has at least had some recent playoff experience. Meanwhile, Sacramento gets Vlade Divac's jokes and the constant nagging knowledge that Luka Doncic or Jaren Jackson Jr. could have been theirs, and yet they went with Marvin Bagley. There's no denying that Bagley deserves a chance to find his footing in the NBA. Jackson, Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, and even Trae Young have shown flashes of why they were so highly regarded in this past June's draft. Of the top five, Marvin Bagley has been the biggest disappointment. Think Sacramento wants a do-over? I don't even mind. I think the thing with Kings fans, and this is some dumb blog. Now, Kyle Madson in the back, Bonneville Radio.
I've always said that it's best to make sweeping generalizations about a draft after 3 games.
You have actually said that. I think that's on your business card.
Yeah, it is. I have it tattooed across my chest.
I think, Kings fans are a bunkered group. We're in a bunker. Because, and for understandable reasons, we have been made fun of, insulted, stepped on for many years now because, quite frankly, our franchise has been more comical than it has been effective on the NBA courts. I think the biggest problem Kings fans have is not when media from outside Sacramento rips the team, rips Vlade, rips draft picks, rips trades, rips play on the field. That's all fair game. I think the problem we have is when media does flybys and they've got to say something on TV and fill a soundbite, or they've got to fill some column space and they're on a deadline. and they just say and or post inaccuracies. Jaren Jackson Jr. wasn't going second in the draft by any team in the NBA that had the second pick. Not a single team.
There were 3 guys that were going to go in the top 3.
That's it. That is it. Ayton, Bagley, Doncic. That is your complete list. Jaren Jackson Jr. was never going to go that high, number 1. Number 2, have you not paid attention to Marvin Bagley? Have you done his per 36? Have you looked at his games? I'm not saying Marvin Bagley's killed it and he's an all-star. I'm saying I don't think Marvin Bagley, on any metric you could look at and say, oh, he's been disappointing.
Here's what I'm guessing happened. When did that get written?
This was... I'll tell you when it got written. It got written enough to include his stat line from last night in the article.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even more interesting. But Kyle, as somebody who does a lot of blogging,
that is, go ahead.
My guess is that this was written before the game, and that was inserted after the game.
They had, so this article came about when the Sacktown Royal, this is SB Nation, right?
Correct.
So the Sacktown Royalty article came out about Marvin Bagley's 12-minute first game. The writer had an idea for this article, finally got around to it, and rolled with the premise despite numbers that maybe refute some of their premise.
Yeah, which is listen, this isn't the worst thing. Like, are we going to get bent out of shape about?
No.
But just this is part of a bigger issue. I don't care if you rip my team. Dude, they deserve it. A lot of times. I get it. I really do. You know what, though? Get it right.
Hey,
just get it right.
Did you take my yurt poll?
Huh.
Did you take the poll that I put on Twitter about yurting?
No, I didn't.
Okay, don't take it yet.
Okay.
37 votes in. Question: have you ever stayed in a yurt while camping? Yes, no, WTF is a yurt.
Sure.
What percentage of people said yes?
18.
Okay. What percentage of people said no?
60.
And what
22.
percentage? Okay. 40 votes in now.
Wow.
10% say yes.
Okay, I said 18.
40% say no. Half of the voters said what the heck is a yurt?
Yeah. So what are the percentages of no and what the heck is a yurt?
90.
90. That kind of matches with what we thought.
Yep.
Can I read you something?
Please.
That'd be funny if you said no.
Like, no, actually, hey, really? No bit? No, we got to go.
All right, per 36.
Uh-huh.
Marvin Bagley is scoring more points, blocking almost double the shots, has more assists, has almost 2 full total rebounds, has a 60% field goal percentage to Jaren Jackson's 50. Like, in almost every metric, I mean, you don't really need to go the per 36 for a lot of these. He's out rebounding him. He's shooting better than he is, blah, blah, blah. But because both aren't starting, that's why I'm doing per 36. It's fair to both of them. Marvin Bagley is better than Jaren Jackson so far this year in almost every statistical category except for steals, which is 2.3 to 1.4. And Bagley, one of Bagley's big drop-offs was apparently his defense, which blocks don't tell the whole story. My point is this. Just take a simple look at a stat line before you write the article.
Quick look. You don't even need to do a deep dive, just a shallow dive.
Glance.
A cursory glance.
Cursory glance is great.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. When we return, we'll look at the game tonight, Kings versus Memphis. Blake Griffin had a huge night last night as well. We'll clean up some of these texts. Maybe we'll get to the World Series. Got a big half hour for you right here on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Hey, this is Kyle Madson with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings lost last night in Denver, 126-112, but they're back in the saddle tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies at the Golden One Center. Our pregame coverage begins with game night at 5:30, Kings live at 6:30, and tip-off, which is set for 7 o'clock right here on Sports 1140. The Dodgers fell to the Red Sox last night, 8-4, as Boston took a 1-0 lead in the World Series. Eduardo Nunez, his 3-run homer in the bottom of the 7th helped to lift the Red Sox to the Game 1 victory. Game 2 of that series is tonight with David Price heading to the mound for Boston against Hyun-Jin Ryu of the Dodgers. The Sharks were down 3 going into the third period, down 2 going into the third period in Nashville, but came up with 3 unanswered in the final frame to help lift the Sharks to a 5-4 victory over the Predators. Those are your top stories. Oh, and Snacks Harrison got traded. Those are your top stories. Now it's back to the Drive on Sports 1140 KHTK.
Snacks! It's totally the name of the show, by the way, right?
Here we
Isn't
go.
it?
The Drive continues.
What was the name of today's show?
Is it something yurdy?
It's Don't Bring Anyone's Mother into This.
Oh, that's right, Mr. T. Mr. T started out the show. Welcome into the Drive. If you want to make phone calls, I don't know if you can or not because Kyle locks it a lot. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. Text us at 441140. Text line brought to you by Jiffy Lube. And we want to thank Eric Asseltine for coming on earlier. All guests brought to you by the Fire Wings hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wait. Let me clean up. I haven't been good to the text line today. Let me clean up some of these. Dave, can you address Giles' poor performances? Yes. Harry Giles has had poor performances. Moving on. No, I mean, come on. Listen, just like it's too early to anoint Marvin Bagley as an all-star, although the kid has looked fantastic, this is kind of expected. This is now the main reason I wanted to pull the reins on the Giles hype in the back of my head was injuries, but also the pressure on the kid. You know, number one guy coming out of high school, destroys his knees, has to sit out all of last year working. He's all pumped up and ready to go. And to be quite honest, right now, Harry's kind of a guy out of position. I think Harry right now is a 4, but that's Marvin Bagley's going to take those minutes, and Dave Yeager's been trying to get him playing time. And he's put Harry at the 5. And Harry's had to go up against Rudy Gobert. He's had to go up against Nikola Jokic. He's had to go up against who am I forgetting?
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis, thank you. And Steven Adams. You know, Harry is about 15 to 20 pounds away from being able to handle that stuff, but it's not there yet.
And he missed a lot of time in basketball development, too, because he played very little from the end of his senior year of high school to now.
Yeah.
So there is so much development that happens in that time. For most guys, you obviously get your oddballs like LeBron James who come out of high school and come right in and contribute. But Giles missed such an important portion of playing time and development that he's now a little bit behind. And that's fine. It's just going to take him a little while, I think, to adjust to the NBA game. I'm not worried at all about Harry Giles.
I'm not either when you look at him. But Kyle, I'll tell you this much: there's 2 options here. There's Harry Giles and everything we just said, and he will end up developing and being a very good player. The other option, to be fair, is Harry Giles is not going to be as good at basketball as people think he will. Many people think he will. Now, let's just assume, and I think logic would dictate, that Harry's going to have a much better career than the first 4 games of his life. I think this is also interesting to note that when we hearken back to last year and we have the Rookie of the Year debate, that sitting on an NBA bench, though undoubtedly has advantages, being able to be around the game, being able to work out and focus on yourself with NBA trainers, getting paid to do it, getting used to the travel, on and on. There are many advantages. But that doesn't automatically mean you're going to be more polished than a guy coming out of college. Look at Bagley and look at Giles. They're pretty much the same age. But Marvin Bagley got to play a year last year against really good college competition. It's not the NBA, but it's game competition. Now, I can tell you right now, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd bet my house on it, that if Harry Giles had been healthy last year and had played last year at Duke like Bagley did, well, first off, Bagley, and Wendell Carter would have been pretty amazing together. But secondly, I think Harry Giles would be better on the floor right now than he is having been with the Kings all last year.
Yeah,
because he got
absolutely.
game experience.
Absolutely.
Ben Simmons is a unicorn, and I think a lot of people forget that. He's a unicorn in the sense that he's a 7-footer who handles the ball like a point guard, and by the way, still can't shoot threes, but has figured out a way to make himself a top 20 player in the NBA.
And he did miss his rookie year, but he also got a full year at LSU.
Yes.
On a team
Correct.
that is not exceptionally talented for a D1
Duke.
basketball program.
Correct.
So he went to a school where he was going to get to dominate the ball and do whatever he wanted at all times on the floor and toy with his game and play with his game and learn how to be an effective NBA player in
Correct.
college. Harry Giles was not afforded that.
That's huge. I mean, it really is. And when you look at Harry, last night I think was an anomaly. He was 0-6 and he missed a bunch of bunnies. But I think with Harry, we can talk about his weight and how
he is a thin dude.
He is a thin dude. You know, he was basically rehabilitating 2 toothpicks for legs. But I also think there's other things, if you look really closely at how Harry plays, the game's too fast for him right now. He's especially hurting on the defensive end because veterans, especially the veterans he's been playing against that we just mentioned, they're pulling out all the tricks on him. Pump fakes, duck unders, going right at him. They understand that if you go against Harry Giles, generally 2 things are going to happen. You're going to score, you're going to get fouled, or a third option, both.
I vastly overestimated his NBA readiness.
I think a lot of people did,
but
especially off the preseason and off of Summer League.
But that's not, for me, impacting my thoughts on the type of player he can be. After 4 games?
4 games in.
And people want to bail. That's ridiculous.
I'm not seeing a lot of people wanting to bail. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, I expected more. That's fair. It's fair to say you expected more so far, but please keep in mind it's 4 games in. And this is a very, very talented, raw kid playing the game right now. And to be honest, Marvin Bagley's more polished than Harry Giles right now because of the reasons we just mentioned.
He had a full season of basketball last year.
And Harry Giles has pretty much not played basketball in over 2 years.
Right.
That's not easy. That's not easy to do.
The good news with Giles is we've seen the flashes.
Yeah. Yeah, we have.
And I think that's the important thing. If he puts it all together, he can be a very, very good player. And the fact that those flashes are there says, hey, if he puts it all together, this is what we're going to see regularly. It's certainly better than him going 0 for 6 every night.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
He's going to be fine.
Last thing for you, Marvin Bagley is now leading the team in rebounds and blocks. Marvin Bagley is averaging 14.5 points a game, 7.3 boards, 1.5 assists, a steal, and 1.5 blocks. Marvin Bagley is only behind De'Aaron Fox, Willie Cauley-Stein, Justin Jackson, and Buddy Hield for minutes per game. Is it time to start Marvin Bagley yet? Have we seen enough? It's your number 2 pick. You have a ton invested in him.
What's the case not to? If someone, I'm going to take us back to court here.
Sure.
If the argument is Marvin Bagley should start, what's the defense saying?
Okay, the first one I would wonder is rotations. Does Bielitsa play better with those starters than Bagley when they look at those numbers? Is Dave Yeager trying to warm Bagley up slowly and get him into the game in the proper moments? And here's the thing that we don't know. We don't have numbers to compare Bagley to if he did start from the beginning of the year. So you could make a case that Dave Yeager is playing Bagley perfectly and putting him in spots to succeed and getting his confidence up because of the way he's rotated him in. There's no way to argue for or against that because we don't know what the alternative would be. For all we know, he could have started Bagley from the get-go and played him 36 minutes a game, and Bagley would be atrocious right now. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. I think Dave Yeager's actually done a really good job with his rotations this year and a really good job of coaching so far.
Yeah, I think so, but at the same time,
I'm trying to come up with an argument for you is my point.
I suppose I don't see an issue with Bagley not starting because he played 32 minutes last night.
Yeah.
I think that maybe at some point you start him just to get him more minutes against the opposing team's number ones, maybe.
Sure.
But aside from that, he's playing well. He's playing 30-plus minutes a night. If he was playing 15 minutes a night, be like, dude, get him in the starting lineup and get him some minutes. But I think Yeager's done a nice job. I'm with you.
By the way, Frank Mason, just for the heck of it, his per 36, 23.4 points, 8.6 assists a game. He's quietly had a very good start to the season.
Start Frank Mason.
Start Frank Mason. All right.
Hey, why don't they just start 7 players?
Why don't they start 7 players?
Why has nobody just thought of this?
I think you just did. We'll take a break.
Hey, let's get Coach on the horn.
When we come back, a little What's on Tap right here on The Drive. Sports 1140 KHTK. Kings and Grizzlies tonight. Battle of top picks.
Tonight.
Jaren Jackson of the Grizzlies versus Marvin Bagley.
I hope Bagley gives him 48 and 15.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Then I would go get a job at SB Nation just to write about how the Grizzlies made a colossal mistake not trading up to number 1 overall to take Marvin Bagley.
Somebody texted in on the text line here at 441140, said, I just made an SB Nation account just to tear that Grizzlies writer a new one, only to be blankballed for a day until I can post comments. Damn them. That's commitment right there. You create an account just to go at them. Good. Do it. Call them out. It's all fun and games.
Stats without context. Love it.
World Series action tonight. Game 2. Red Sox up 1-0 on the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 3 losses away from, once again, not winning a World Series. That will be 30 straight years. Here's Chris Paul talking about his suspension.
That's tough. Somebody spit on you, to play this long, and that has never happened. But it is what it is. Fellas got to get ready for Utah tomorrow, and I get ready for the Clippers on Friday.
Here's, we'll jump around with some sound. Jason Garrett, head coach for now of the Dallas Cowboys, trying to explain the Amari Cooper trade.
Well, obviously it's a big decision. We talked about it a lot on all levels of our organization. I do believe we've done a good job selecting guys in the first round, and they're cornerstone players on our team. And we really believe that Amari can be that kind of a guy. Again, he's 24 years old. He has a lot of ability to play his position. We believe he's the right kind of guy. And we think he has a bright future. The value for a player like that at his age, that's really what it costs you. It costs you a first-round pick. If we were to get into the draft next spring, you would say, boy, is there any receiver who's as good as a guy like Amari Cooper? He's not 28, 29, 30. You're not paying for a guy for what he's done for the past 6, 7, 8 years for another team. We feel like he has it in front of him, and he can really benefit our team going forward. Because of the ability he has and the kind of person he is.
I like that. Talked about it at all levels of our organization. Was Jerry Jones decided this is going to happen, then everyone went, wow, did you hear what Jerry decided?
Right. Yeah, it's not like Jason Garrett was weighing in the war room.
So what the Cowboys effectively decided here is they were taking a wide receiver with their first-round pick this year. They assessed this wide receiver class and said Amari Cooper is going to be better than every receiver in this class. And we would rather effectively draft him and then have to pay him next year?
Yeah.
And then pay him big the following year? I guess.
Oh, that's what he's saying.
I don't know, man.
I mean,
I get the idea because Amari Cooper is a tremendously talented player, and I understand his production has lacked and his commitment level or whatever that people talk about has been suspect. But I can see the logic there. It's just an interesting move for a team that I don't think is a wide receiver away.
Carolina Panthers selected DJ Moore with the 24th pick in last year's draft. That was the first wide receiver taken. 2 picks later, the Atlanta Falcons at 26 grabbed Calvin Ridley with that pick, just to give you some context on that. Hey, Kyle, take salaries out of the equation. Who would you rather have on your team, Calvin Ridley or Amari Cooper?
Wow.
They're both signed for the next 4 years at the same dollar.
And Calvin Ridley's older by a couple months, right?
Calvin Ridley is currently 23 years old.
Oh, so he's only slightly younger, I believe, than Amari Cooper. So give me – oh, man, that's tough.
Cortland Sutton was taken with the 40th pick in the second round by the Broncos.
Where was Juju taken? Juju Smith-Schuster.
That was the year before.
He's super young. He's still 21, I think. 22 maybe. Maybe just turned 22.
Year,
right.
Yeah. Juju Smith-Schuster was taken with the 62nd overall pick out of USC in the second round in 2017.
Right, yeah. I'll take Amari Cooper just to fit my Amari Cooper stan image here.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be mad if I had to take Ridley because Ridley's a really good player as well.
Here's another Jason Garrett nugget.
Really excited about Amari, a great college player at Alabama, a high pick, and a productive player in the National Football League. He's had good seasons early on in his career. We feel like he's a very physically talented guy. You know, we know people well at Alabama, really highly regarded by the people who have been around him. So he's 24 years old. I feel like he has a lot of physical ability that can help us, and he's absolutely the right kind of guy we want to bring to our football team.
I have a couple questions about that. When you're talking about a guy after he's been in the NFL for a couple of years, and you go back to his college to talk about him, and I understand wanting to get some more background, and you guys were around him for years, but number one, are colleges really, I wonder, maybe they do. When you go to colleges, I would imagine they generally are very biased towards their players. It's part of self-preservation. You want your players to do well in the NFL. I just can't imagine them going to Alabama and saying, hey, should we trade for Amari Cooper? And them saying, no, he's trash, dude. Amari's washed, bro. Secondly, Amari Cooper has been a millionaire for a few years now. Money, it can change work habits. It can change all kinds of things about a person.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the change of scenery changes his, I don't want to say attitude because I'm not there. I don't know him. But changes the perception of his work ethic?
Sure.
Does that work?
It can.
Like if does a change of scenery impact his productivity? I'm very, very interested to see because I think he is a fantastically talented player who has the talent to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and he has not been that.
There's a reason why generally in sports there's a phenomenon when a player gets traded, he generally will come out of the box and finish that season, barring injury, doing really well or much better than he did. You see it in basketball all the time. You really see it in baseball. You don't see a lot of mid-season trades in the NFL. And I think it's because we forget that athletes are human beings. And when you get traded, you've effectively, especially when you get traded for the first time in your career, when you're still on a rookie contract, I think it's a blow to the ego. You just got rejected. And not only did you get rejected, but you just saw a price on you and exactly what that price is. You can sit back and off and wonder what your value is. Well, Amari Cooper now knows exactly what his value is. It's a first-round pick. And not only that, but Amari Cooper's probably reading a lot of things saying the Dallas Cowboys are stupid, because Amari Cooper's not worth a first-round pick, which, by the way, that's where he was drafted, in the first round. So I think to look past these athletes and not consider that they are human beings, and it's a little bit embarrassing for them. And he's probably pissed off, and his ego's probably gotten a little bit of a blow. So if Amari Cooper comes out and kills it for the Cowboys, that's not going to surprise me one bit. Now, the difference in football, which is much different than basketball and especially baseball, is it takes a lot more than Amari Cooper to tangle. He's got to be on the same page as Prescott. He's got to learn the playbook.
It takes a lot more than Amari Cooper to what?
Okay, I was hoping you wouldn't catch that. I'm very aware that it's tango. I'm also very aware that I said tangle. I said it takes more than two to tangle, and I immediately realized I meant tango, but you didn't react, so I just kept moving on and hoped nobody noticed, and they just thought it was a normal part of my lisp. And then you pointed it out, and now that's how we're finishing the show. Carmichael
I think it
Dave
takes. I think
can't talk.
it takes two to tangle is going to be the new show title.
More than don't bring mothers into this. More than what is a yurt. More than Eric Hasseltine swearing.
Don't bring anyone's mother into this.
Don't bring anyone's mother into this. Don't bring anyone's mother into this. Anyone's mother into this. What are you looking at me weird for? You staring at me with this
Don't
weird...
bring anyone's mother into this.
There you go. You have this dead doll eyes look on your face, like I can see right through you. What? Okay. Kyle said something private to me. For Eunice, who does a fantastic job, Kyle, who shows up every day and tries his best, I'm Carmichael Dave. Our thanks to Scott Bear and Eric Hasseltine. You got the lowdown, Grant and Doug leading all the way into Memphis and your Sacramento Kings tonight. Jim Rome is next. Enjoy the rest of your day right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye now.